Say it louder.
I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my boy!
Today, you're not going to see a good performance, not even a brilliant one. You're going to see the greatest performance in the history of cinema. An interpretation so extreme, so hypnotic, so terrifying, that even among the world's best actors, no one dares to compare themselves to it. And this isn't just any opinion. Critics, filmmakers, and actors have described it as unbeatable, a performance that changed everything. Because when Daniel Day-Lewis appeared in There Will Be Blood, the bar for what a performance could be was shattered forever. But to understand why it's unbeatable, we first have to look at what were, until then, the greatest. Legendary performances that defined eras, roles that once seemed untouchable, until Daniel Day-Lewis appeared and took everything to a level no one thought possible.
Scared.
Will you shut the fuck up and listen to me? Just listen to me!
Al Pacino delivers here one of the most visceral performances in history. He plays a desperate bank robber carrying an unbearable emotional weight. His energy is chaotic, yet always precisely controlled. He shifts from fear to rage, from tenderness to collapse, without seeming to act for even a second. Every gesture, every word, every pause is an explosion of truth, with a naturalness never seen before. It's the portrait of a man at his breaking point, and Al Pacino turns it into something deeply human, tragic, and magnetic. Meryl Streep's performance in Sophie's Choice is simply devastating. She plays a Polish woman marked by horror, and does so with superhuman sensitivity and precision. The choice scene is one of the most painful moments in cinema, and Streep inhabits it with terrifying fragility. What's most impressive is that for the role, she learned 2 languages and spoke English with a perfect Polish accent. It's a devastating, complex, and deeply emotional performance, utterly unforgettable. De Niro completely transformed himself to bring Jake LaMotta to life. He gained and lost 30 kilos, learned professional boxing, and merged with the character. But what truly impresses is how he captured LaMotta's inner violence. He doesn't just throw punches in the ring, he destroys himself outside of it. His eyes reflect guilt, jealousy, hatred, and vulnerability. It's a physical performance, yes, but also a psychological one, deeply dark. A total, no-holds-barred commitment that marked a turning point in cinema.
I'm sorry. I don't know why you did it. I do it to him. I do. Oh.
Brando gives himself over here in an almost suicidal way. He plays a broken, wild man confronting his own emotional decay. His monologues are raw, improvised, like the cries of someone who has nothing left to lose. He strips himself bare in this role. He wasn't pretending. He channeled the real pain of his wife's death and revealed himself without filters on camera. It's an uncomfortable, brutal, and deeply intimate performance. Brando isn't trying to please, only to tell the truth, exposing himself completely. But in 1957, the man was born who would eclipse them all, becoming the greatest actor in the history of cinema. While other actors were shooting film after film, he would vanish for years. He chose each project as if it were his last. And when he committed, he dove into the abyss. His first major explosion came in 1989 with My Left Foot. Portraying Christy Brown, an artist who could only move part of his body. What others would treat as a technical challenge, he turned into an act of possession. He stayed in character and in paralysis off camera, had assistants feed him, and ended up with 2 broken ribs from constant body tension. The result was brutal, his first Oscar, and with it, a question echoed through Hollywood. How far was he willing to go? The answer, farther than anyone else. In The Last of the Mohicans, he lived in the forest, hunted his own food, and learned to track. In the Name of the Father,
Right, that's my fucking name, sir. You can write what you like.
he locked himself in a cell, refused food, and let other actors mistreat him to embody the wrongfully convicted Jerry Conlon. An Oscar nearly touched his hand, but slipped away. He didn't care. It wasn't about awards, it was about truth. Between films, he vanished. No interviews, no magazines, no content. Just preparation, or silence. For the boxer, he trained for over a year like a real fighter. Then, silence again. He retired, became a cobbler in Florence. No one expected his return. But in 2002, he exploded in gangs of New York.
On my challenge, by the ancient laws of combat,
Scorsese called him to play Bill the Butcher. He learned to throw knives, worked with real butchers, and spoke with a 19th century accent, even offset. He got pneumonia but refused modern medicine. Modern coats didn't exist back then. He kept filming, then disappeared again. It seemed like he had reached the peak, but that was only the prologue. Because in 2007, Daniel Day-Lewis returned with the most extreme, precise, and terrifying performance in film history. Daniel Day-Lewis crossed a line that no one else has crossed. There Will Be Blood wasn't just a movie, it was a descent into hell. And he chose not to perform it, but to inhabit it. The transformation began long before shooting. He isolated himself for months in a desert, with no phone or contact with the outside world. He studied oil pioneers, learned every technique, every tool, every gesture. He became obsessed with the way people spoke at the time, with the exact accent. He blended real voices from forgotten recordings with the cadence of John Huston until he created an unrepeatable sound. To grasp the magnitude of the voice he created, just compare how he spoke as Daniel Plainview with his real voice when accepting the Oscar.
For whacking me with the handsomest bludgeon in town.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up!
They are two different people. But that was only the beginning. On set, he never broke character. He was Daniel Plainview all the time. Cold, menacing, isolated. He didn't interact with anyone. He lived like a man on the brink of collapse, a predator who had lost all faith in humanity. His intensity consumed everything. The tension with Paul Dano, the antagonist in the film, was real. Dano has said it himself. Talking to Day-Lewis felt like talking to a real monster. The most intense, violent, and destructive scenes weren't catharsis. They were the accumulation of everything he had buried for months. When he screamed, when he struck, when he killed, it didn't feel like acting. It felt like possession. The famous baptism scene, where Dano repeatedly slaps Plainview, was real. Painful, brutal, like everything in that production. Paul Thomas Anderson, the director, simply let it happen. Sometimes, the camera didn't even move, because what unfolded in front of it was cinema history. And when filming ended, there was nothing left of Day-Lewis. The character had consumed him. Plainview wasn't just another role. He was an entity that inhabited him, isolated him from the world, and drained his soul. Day-Lewis himself said, "After playing someone like that, you can't just go home and be yourself." For weeks, he didn't know how to return to reality. He stepped away from film, from the noise, from everything. No interviews, no award speeches, no search for recognition. He won his second Oscar. The world applauded, but he was no longer there. Because Plainview had taken everything, and from that moment on, nothing was the same. He acted once more, years later, won a third Oscar, and became the most awarded actor in Oscar history. But something had broken, and after his final film, Phantom Thread, he retired forever, as if he knew that after Daniel Plainview, there was no more cinema left to make. And with that, the big question remains. No one has ever been willing to disappear from the world for a role the way he has. No one has given their body, mind, and soul with that level of intensity. Because this wasn't just a performance, it was a transformation. And the price paid was the soul, humanity, and mental health. While others perform, he becomes. He erases himself. He destroys himself. He doesn't act from the outside, he acts from within. He lives in his character until he loses himself. And what remains on screen isn't an actor, it's something wild, real, unrepeatable. Daniel Plainview cannot be copied. He cannot be repeated. Because what makes him so terrifying is that he never feels like fiction. You don't see Day-Lewis playing anyone. You see a monster born right there, in front of your eyes. And that's the truth. Many have impressed, some have moved us. But no one has gone this deep. No one has been so extreme, so brutal, so honest. Since there will be blood, all actors have had an invisible ceiling. And that ceiling was set by Daniel Day-Lewis. No one has surpassed him, and no one will, because no one else has been willing to disappear forever. And now that you've seen what one actor was capable of, the question is, was it worth it? Is it worth giving yourself so completely, disappearing, breaking inside, just to tell a story? This hasn't been a tribute, it's been a testimony of what happens when someone doesn't act to be remembered, but because they can't do anything else. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate your thoughts in the comments, a like, and that you subscribe. Thank you for watching Cineprime.